December 1st, let's call it delivered December 7th of last year of 2020, a pardon request was filed with the White House, written by yours truly. Since the tax has to be imposed by clear and unequivocal language or you're innocent. If it is vague or highly debatable, you're innocent. If you have a good faith explanation of the law, you're innocent. I filed a pardon request with President Trump for everyone in a category of conviction. And that is anybody who has only sold their labor, but who has been indicted and maybe ultimately convicted because the government can't even prove that the law has operated. And in another bracket in that letter, I told the president, you're a smart guy. How did Section 83A operate all those years you paid taxes as a CEO? That's a good question. And if you can't explain the law, you're the president, what are you doing sending people to prison? And I'm not petitioning with this petition, sir, that you release all liens and levies, but you should overturn these convictions. But for any lien or levy that you allow to remain in place, how did Section 83 operate in your conclusion they owe the money? And so I destroyed the issue and just dropped it right in the president's lap on December 7th of last year. Clemency1.com is about that petition, and you'll also find twopotus.com has a couple things on it that are pretty interesting. Especially of note on twopotus.com is Algarve versus Louisiana. In the health care bill, and I won't bother you with the name of the president that got it passed, the health care bill, it says that you can't purchase insurance outside of your state. You familiar with that? Yeah, you have to buy on your state exchange. You can't buy insurance from outside of your state. Algarve versus Louisiana, 1897, is one of the earliest cases I read in this flurry I went through for a few years. It's about contract rights, but it's about interstate commerce just as much as a constitutional right. Algarve, a resident of Louisiana, bought insurance out of New York. And they said that violates Louisiana law, and I can't remember if it was a misdemeanor or a civil violation or whatever. And he took it all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, no, that's interstate commerce. You can buy anything you want in this country from anywhere in it. So that destroys the health care bill that tried to restrict you to the state exchange, which is where they can compete just with a couple of others, drive the prices up, instead of competing against the whole country, insurance agencies offering health insurance. So just with that one, I can destroy a tenet of the health care bill. And I'll leave you with this one. I told you what I can do to Social Security. It's never been written to apply to Americans. The government can't deny it. Half of the health care bill is an amendment to the Social Security Act. Whoa. Half of it. 1/6 of the health care bill is an amendment to Chapter 1 of the Internal Revenue Code, where citizens of the U.S. are only named in a regulation. Look at how my 1994 treatise kills the health care bill. But look at the role of the Social Security Act and the complexities of the law. They put this in place, Social Security Act, 1935. In Section 211 of the Legislative Act, it has that definition of citizen that excludes me, which is carried out through statutes. The same citizen everywhere, and it's not me. Requirement to pay if you've made more than $400,000. That's in gross income. How did Section 83 operate in your conclusion? My pay was, and so I took these different things about the health care bill, and I knew of ways to attack them. And the Social Security Act is put in place. Then you got the 1939 tax code 4 years later. Then in 1954, they rewrote it and made it about this much bigger. And the complexities are in there, but the nature of the law has never changed. And so what we have is a plug-and-play law. No one can figure it out. Albert Einstein said in the 50s, the hardest thing in the world to figure it out is the income tax. And in 1954, they rewrote the tax code, abundantly bigger, immense, and complex. And we don't have to talk about it. And what I'm doing is I'm framing a timeline. 1913, the 16th Amendment, 17th Amendment, and the Federal Reserve Act. 17th Amendment says we're not going to appoint senators anymore through the state legislature. We're going to elect them by the public. And the 16th Amendment, income taxes. The Federal Reserve Act, the private bank can print our money. And then in 1935, Social Security Act. 1939, Internal Revenue Code of 39. And then 1954, the new tax code. 1965, Medicare was added to the Social Security Act. And it shows up in the same two chapters that impose Social Security in our tax code. So they added to it with Medicare. 2009, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, the health care bill, and they added it. And you go from Woodrow Wilson to FDR, Lyndon Johnson, and the president previous to Trump, all flaming progressives. And we've always heard it's the progressive income tax. Progressive doesn't mean, oh, as you go by more brackets and brackets, you pay more. So it's progressive. No, it's named after a political movement called progressivism. They dreamed it up and they conned our government into doing it to us. We've never owed a penny of it. And that's what a progressive is. They can't steal enough and they don't care about America when they go about stealing it. Or they'd take it to heart, excuse me, but should we do this to a nation of 330 million gun owners? Think about it. We're going to do this to gun owners. Well, someone figured it out and they can't deny it. I've been to court and been to court and been to court up against the government's best. No one can refute it. That's a progressive. And then that president goes out with Obamacare. I said its name. And then now this guy gets in there, who's worse. That's progressivism. Destroy America, corner everything, so we, the elite, get the gravy. That's the game. That's your relationship with government since the Democratic Party's been lost to progressivism. And that's what you see going down in America today is you got a plug-and-play law where once in a while they'll add to it that just takes another big chunk of the economy and throws it to the government while the government grows on all this money that it stole from us. Where would we be had the government not stolen all this money, including state governments, motor vehicle code, income tax? And what do they spend the money on? Oh, we need this military vehicle for our sheriff's department, and the rest of it. All the stuff that they can't steal enough from you. They have no creativity. They have your wallet. That's the end of the equation. They'll admit this to you. They'll say it to you loudly without saying it every time you go to court. You just feel that, yeah, that's the way it is, all right. I'm nobody in this scheme. And yet federally, by the progressives, you have these chunks of society taken out. The 16th and 17th Amendment and the Federal Reserve Act, Woodrow Wilson. The Social Security Act, FDR. And then Medicare, Lyndon Baines Johnson. And then the previous president. I call it the Hump administration, the one that preceded the Trump administration. These four segments of society, all the money that's been spent for Tomahawk cruise missiles, nuclear warheads, aircraft carriers, tanks, the rest of it. While right now our border is open and the military sits on its hands. Okay? I don't think the military is on our side. I don't think they're riding in to save Trump from what was obviously a stolen election. And I don't mean what happened here on shore. You look at what China did. Look at Mike Lindell's proof. Just 5 states that he can prove were taken overturns the election. China hacked the vote, hacked Biden into office. They own him. They own his son. They got the goods on him. And so I don't know what it's going to take. I'm not here to suggest a solution. But if you want to know more about your relationship with your government than anybody else can teach you, I got a line on that. So wevgov.com. My YouTube channel is called Take From Caesar. A bunch of wonderful free tutorials there. Take From Caesar. And twopotus.com, clemency1.com, and takefromcaesar.us, and you'll know everything in the world.